Check it out, guys. We're making progress, getting down to the nitty-gritty of this build. So the things that are left to do are the difficult things. Those always are the last things, right? So a couple of challenges that we have is getting everything shifting. We need to be able to shift the transfer case into the appropriate gear. We need to shift the transmission into the appropriate gear. And we need, another linkage, the throttle cable, so the gas pedal, to the engine. All of that is custom on this build because we've taken a different engine and a different chassis and putting it into a 1957 FC. So that's where we're at. That's what I plan to work on today. Let's get started. Funny story, I got online and I've been collecting these parts for weeks now to make the gas filler cap, and they didn't have the right angle that I needed, like 45 degree or 50 degree angle to go downward. So I also had to buy 90 degree hose and another hose, and I've been buying parts and pieces to try to make this work. And then one day I was walking down my driveway when I bought this frame and chassis. It came with a bunch of pieces, and I had just kind of thrown the ones that I thought I didn't need out there. And it turns out right there in the middle of the side of my driveway, it had been sitting there all along, the perfect piece that I need. It's the stupidest things that set you back. This wasn't even the right size vent line right here, but it was the only thing I could get that was in stock. Trying to get parts during this COVID stuff is getting ridiculous. Like, nobody has anything and everything's out of stock. It's just getting really, really, really insane. But I understand it. I'm going through the same thing with the winch line. So I'm in the same boat as, getting the parts that I need to build the winch lines is almost impossible. So I get it, but it's very frustrating. What you gonna do? This is probably the scariest part of a build, is when you have to plasma torch or weld very close to the gas tank. This is a fiberglass blanket. You would not want to snuggle up with this thing because it is super itchy, but I'm gonna take that and put it all up in here and over the top of this gas tank and the gas tank lines and hoses, and hopefully not blow myself up. Wish me luck. Filler it, please. I don't know how this is going to go down yet, but I've got this from Novak Conversions. They make a transfer case shifter, and we're going to try to attach this and make it work for our purposes to be able to shift this thing into four-wheel drive. Now, if you remember, we have the Rubicon transfer case in there, so this should work for that. However, it's not in a Jeep TJ or a Jeep XJ. It's in an FC, so we have to figure out the other end. There's the factory shifter that I found also out there in that pile of parts. This is one of the brackets. Now, typically, this thing replaces all that mumbo jumbo connecting rods that you have for your transfer case that go from your shifter to your transfer case. Now, typically, you're basically sitting right above your transfer case, so the shifter would be right here, and the transfer case would be right below that, just maybe a foot below or less. The problem I've got is my cab sits way up here, so basically the shifter cable is going to be in here somewhere, and then the transfer case is way back here. Because with the FC, you're basically sitting on the front bumper, what would typically be the front bumper. So it's kind of very difficult to get this figured out. So to get a custom cable made was going to take like 90 days or something. I got to give this thing away in, what, 40 days or something. So what I'm going to do is take 2 of these cables. Luckily Novak was willing to send me 2 of these cables to try to make this work. I need to connect these though, so I need to put some sort of a brace right in between, and that might actually help because then I'll be able to solid mount that and I won't have this really long cable that would have some sort of play in it because the middle will be solid mounted. The only issue is that middle section is going to have to be straight, but hopefully I'll be able to snake that all through here. So my plan is to get that connected to this factory shifter piece right here, and yeah, is it gonna work? I don't know. Let's see what we can do. So hopefully you'll shift there, and then that cable will run back, snake down through, over, and around to the side of the transfer case, which is right about there. First I'm going to use this angle iron to make some sort of a brace for this guy right here, and so I'm gonna cut that right there, then I'll weld some pieces in here to hold that still, and then it'll be able to shift like that. Okay, while I'm waiting for that to dry, let me show you a couple other things I'm simultaneously working on. Well, there's a few. I don't know if I've showed you the steering column, the brake pedal, and all of that stuff yet. I know I've done a few posts on social media, but I don't think I've shown you guys this on the YouTubes. So this is my brake pedal steering column concoction. Going to work out really nice. The brake switch is also in there, and I got the gas pedal mounted the other day in the factory position, so I'll have to show you the bottom of that here in a second because that was the booger part. But this is where you'll sit right here. Gas, brake, gas, brake. They both ended up in a really good position, although I think I'd like, for myself, I'd like to have like a little block or something right there. Needs to be up a little bit higher, just for me personally. So here's what took me forever to wrap my head around. So we're at the bottom now, looking at the bottom of the gas pedal. So this, when you press the gas pedal, that moves this bar down. That bar is then wrapped around at a couple 90s, and I had to make this little bracket right here that it would slide through and it would rotate on. That was pretty difficult to kind of wrap around in my head, not to mention this place where it mounts is curved, so I had to make the whole bracket curved. I don't know if you can see that very well. And then that goes up and pulls the throttle cable. So when you press on the gas pedal, it pulls the throttle cable forward. It was actually one of the only cables in this whole build that worked out to be just right. And so, vroom, vroom, vroom. So that is the air intake. Part of this is factory, and then it goes into an aluminum tube that's then bent up to an air filter, which is right by the back wall to get fresh air. And then I've got a couple hoses, one there. This one goes to the evap, and then that goes to the front of the motor right there. I also got the heater core box plumbed in, and I fixed that up really nice. Everything works on it, which I'm happy about. Now I just need to finish plumbing it and hope that the heater core is not leaky, because I didn't test it, but they don't make them anymore. So if it's bad, it's fairly simple to pull this off, and I'll have to either have a new one custom made or have that one repaired, which it's brass, so it should be okay. This thing's really cool. There's little doors here. This door gives you some heat for your legs, I guess, or ventilation. And then this one, not sure exactly. That's for the heat for the cab. That opens the vents on the front of the Jeep. And then these levers actuate the defrost. One of them goes to the defrost, and one of them turns on the motor. This motor right here is a new motor for the windshield wipers. So the old motor was vacuum actuated, and this is a electric actuated windshield wiper motor. One of the other things that I've been working on is right here. I'm trying to get the factory emergency brake to work. So that's right here below the dash. And you pull on that. So this has been another pain in the butt, because everything with this is custom since we're so far forward. But I'm getting it figured out. Here is an emergency brake cable, and that's wrapped around. It goes down through the front part of the Jeep and then all the way around back. So now I just need to connect this here, and this is pretty neat. It's got a little trigger right here to release, and it goes in. So that'll go like so, and then when you pull that, it'll pull the emergency brake cable. That emergency brake cable comes right through here, down right behind this little Jeep slat or Jeep grill, and then it turns 90 degrees here, and it runs along the firewall. I still need to get it mounted so that it doesn't move around, but it's going to mount to the frame and then go all the way back. And right now it terminates right here. That's part of the issue, is I needed another 4 or 5 feet or so, because it has to get all the way back here to the rear axle. The other end of that cable will look like this, or I can put this piece on it. I'm trying to work with the parts that I got with the kit here, and I need to adapt all of this stuff to fit the factory emergency brake dealimabobber there. But it just doesn't go together without customizing everything. Everything on this Jeep has to be customized. So just more crap I'm dealing with. So I'm getting back to work on that, and I'll show you some more updates here in a minute, or some tips if I run across anything. Oh, I almost forgot. I got the rear bumper mounted. So this bumper I had lying around, I don't know exactly where it came from, but it looks to be I think it's a front bumper for a TJ, but I got it custom mounted. That was a giant pain in the butt too, because I couldn't get to the bolts on the top, so I had to devise a way. So what I ended up doing was welding a nut on the bottom side of the top piece there, making a custom spacer so the bolt goes all the way through, bolts into here, and then it clamps down onto the bumper to hold it in place, which was kind of a neat solution. And then it got complicated, because I had to make it like a puzzle. So it would slip in over here, and then it slides across, locks in, comes back, and then clamps down. So that was too complicated to try to make a video showing that, because nobody's ever going to need to do that again. But it was pretty neat how I did that. This is a huge learning experience for me. I've never attempted anything this complicated. And you guys put this on me, it's all your fault. It's like above my experience level and my skill level, but I'm just doing the best I can, trying to get it done, and doing it to the best of my abilities and the time that I have. So let's get back to it. Let's give it a little test. Oh my god. Oh man. It's just one thing after another. Finally! It works! Once I got all that together, I realized that my welding wasn't perfectly straight, so it was kind of binding, so I put it in the vise here and tweaked it ever so slightly, and now it is very, very smooth back and forth. I also lubed it a little bit with some PTFE. But in case you're confused as to what this is, it's basically just whatever input you put in here, whether you push a cable forward or in reverse, it's going to happen on the other side over here. It's a little different than like a throttle cable, which a throttle cable is just one way. You're just pulling and then a spring is returning. But on this, there's no spring returning. You have to return it with the cable. So that's why there's these longer pieces of metal on the end here. So you can push and you can pull with this type of cable. And the reason for this center section here is I just needed to make it longer because all I could get was, the longest one I could get was 44 inches, and I needed it to be between 88 and 90 inches for this darned old FC here. So let me get this in, see if I can get it working. And I missed it on film, but I was underneath there, kind of all crossed up, and I lost control of my angle grinder with the cutoff disc on it. So make sure you always wear your safety gear. I had a full face shield on, and good thing I did, because that thing came back and it hit me in the face, and then it came down and it sliced into my arm right there, and then it went all the way down my stomach and sliced open my shirt right there. But luckily the damage wasn't real bad. But if I didn't have that face shield, it could have been real bad. So always wear a face shield. And if I would have wore my welding jacket, I would have not suffered this arm damage. But anyway, be safe out there, guys. Like this. Pretty much something like that. Woo! Check this out. I got it to work. Oh, I should show you. Well, I should show you how it started. Okay. Remember, we were using that Novak shifter, and I had to put two of them together. Not Novak's fault. This is an FC made in 1957, and they don't make a lot of aftermarket parts for this thing. So check this out. It's tight in there, but right there, that's the Rubicon transfer case. The shifter mechanism on this goes up. So this was actually bolt in from Novak, so that bolted there, that bracket, and then that shifter mechanism goes to there. No big deal. But from there, typically it would just go up and around and into your shifter, which sits here. But this one goes up and over the transmission, over there, And then right there I have a bracket that holds that stationary so it doesn't want to move when I'm trying to shift it. And then that's where that joiner starts, and then that, unfortunately that joiner piece had to be completely straight, so it is wedged right through there, but it's perfect because then that allows this to bend. It comes across here and it goes to this bracket, which I had to modify. I cut this piece off and re-welded it at a different angle, and then I also had to modify this piece. I machined a little bracket and welded that on there, but that thing goes across and to this little guy right here. But you want to see the best part? This is my favorite part. Watch this. Okay, so right now we're in 4 low. You want to go into neutral? Neutral. You want to go into, what's next? 4 high? 4 high. You want to go into 2-wheel drive? 2-wheel drive. That works awesome. I couldn't ask for a better shifter. And it's going to look factory. Once I get all these pieces on, you'll never see any of that stuff. The only thing you'll see is this factory little shifter right here. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, check out those videos right there. And a big thanks to Novak for getting me those shifter cables and parts. I appreciate it, guys.